Yo, Trojan family, what's up? Welcome to the USC LAFB show here on the LAFB network. I'm your host, Ryan Dyrud. Hope everyone had a fantastic weekend, a hot weekend. As you can tell, I'm still I feel like sweating. I tried to sneak a run in there and still red and blotchy and took the girl to the park, and it's been hot in now March. Crazy, but it's still winter and it feels like late summer out here in LA. But hope everyone enjoyed it. NFL Combine just wrapped up. It's always a great week in Indianapolis. I've been there multiple times. I'm super bummed I wasn't able to make it this year, but I will be back. It's always just such a great week. And there was a lot of Trojans at the Combine this year and a lot of, I think, good performances from Trojans. And then a lot of, I think, unfair chatter, which I wanted to get on here primarily to talk about with the great Makai Lemon. So I'm going to wrap up by, listing some of the stuff that, Jacoby Lane did, Kamari Ramsey, McRee, Eric Gentry. I think all of them had really good combines and all of them probably elevated their draft stock. But I wanted to start with Makai Lemon because for whatever reason, he is getting, I don't want to say attacked, but, these rumors and, all this chatter about him that is potentially trying to drive his draft stock down. And this happens every year with at least one, sometimes multiple, but every year. Last year, Shedeur Sanders was the player this happened to. I can give some comparison with him, obviously a different position, but I'll wait for that for a minute. But even just a few years ago, we saw it with Caleb Williams, right? We all knew Caleb Williams was going to be the number one overall pick. We all knew the chatter before the Combine about the nail painting and all this and that. And then at the Combine, more chatter ramps up about, he seems a little too cocky and this and that. And ultimately it didn't matter. He was the first overall pick. And I think he's proving to be worthy of that first overall pick as he continues to get better in the NFL. And he's as good as we all knew he was and knew he was going to be. But Makai Lemon, it's really kind of struck a chord with me. It's really aggravated me. Because you see all of these people talking about his interviews. And so first it was 2 days ago when he did when all the receivers did their kind of media interviews. So how they have it set up is in the convention center. You're all in this kind of big open room. They have, I think up to a bunch of tables lined in the back wall in a U shape. And they'll place 20 players at a time, and you have certain time slots and you can just go talk to these players. It's loud, cameras everywhere, people shuffling around. It's a very interesting, fun, but interesting because it's just, it's super noisy. So anyway, I'm saying that because it's it's a very different environment than a lot of other interview environments. It's different than even a media scrum after a practice or after a game, just because there's literally hundreds and hundreds of people and 20 interviews going, maybe not 20, 15, more than 10 simultaneously going on. So anyway, all of a sudden all these videos come out and no one real credible, but a lot of people high up in the draft community, they have a lot of followers and want to put out these videos about his kind of demeanor and how he's kind of answering things and how his voice sounds and this and that. And I mean, to me, it's clearly none of these people have even watched Makai Lemon interview at all, ever. His demeanor, all that, that's no different than how he's always been since being in college. So I don't know where, well, I should say, I do know where that's coming from because no one actually does their research anymore or looks into kind of a person and what they've been for their whole life. They kind of just see a this and now and then put it out there and all of a sudden put some negative context behind it. So that I thought was ridiculous. I watched the interviews. I didn't even notice anything different just because we've talked to Makai Lemon many times. So if anyone out there was watching that, maybe they should reach out to someone on the USC beat or even just a USC fan and be like, hey, is this normal? And then after we all say, yeah, that's normal, then it would be a non-story. So that was one thing. Got me fired up just because it's just do some research, man. This is supposed to be media, right? You're supposed to. That's why I think the idea of media, or I should say the context of what media has been and is, doesn't sit well with a lot of people because of situations like this. There's always just aha moments. No, let me do some research on this or see if there's any underlying actual story here. But no, I'll just do a hot take on it and create some negative whirlwind around this young man who's done nothing but been an absolute great competitor, great player, and I still think will be one of either the first receiver or for sure a first round pick. So that was kind of yesterday, right? When that all started coming out. Then all of a sudden today, some stuff kind of starts leaking of, again, not like Ian Rappaport, not any of these like guys that are really actually talking to like the GMs and coaches. But, you know, more mid-tier, lower level, I said this not disrespectfully, because that would be like me, coming out and saying like, oh, I rounded the wagons. I talked to a bunch of people, and the closed door interviews were terrible. He bombed him. I've talked to scouts saying that they've taken him off their board. You hear this, and this is what I'll say on it, right? And I say this with a lot of conviction because, as all you have that watch this show, I've watched Makai Lemon play. I've spoken to Makai Lemon many times. We've interviewed Makai Lemon. If a team is truly, I'm going to address the rumors, but I just got to say this, if a team truly decides to take a Makai Lemon off their draft board based on an interview at the combine, that is why organizations stay bad. I'm guessing that was not a winning organization that did that. Or it was a team in the late first round that never had a chance to get him anyway, and they're just kind of like throwing out fire. Or it's a team in the late round saying that, hoping they can get him to fall. Again, this is all smokescreen stuff too. Coaches have come out and said, not necessarily with Makai, but have said they kind of put stuff out there to see if they can get a guy to fall. Some not necessarily they say they put like negative stuff, but they'll start little like rumors here and there to see if a guy can fall, or if a team will trade up and give up assets because they're afraid that one team in front of them is going to take a guy they want. A lot of it, I mean, it's a chess game. It's smokescreen. I just don't like, if that's the case, I don't like that you use negativity for that. But I don't think it's, I mean, that'd just be crazy to me. I don't see how that would have any relevance to taking a player of Makai Lemon's caliber based on a 15-minute interview, if that even. Knowing what we know about Makai and seeing him, like, do I think he probably was like a Pulitzer Prize winning interviewer? No, probably not. But he's a receiver that won the Blitnikoff. I mean, I don't know what you're wanting out of that. It's a guy that maybe doesn't, feel super comfortable talking. Those are really high pressure situations. And hey, all the players got to do it. So I'm not saying like, can't do it. But if you're using that as your kind of like, okay, we're off on this guy. All they got to do is call Lincoln Riley and Chad Savage, and they would say, yeah, he gave you his interview. It's called the Blitnikoff Trophy. That's all the interview you need. Best receiver in college football. So I think that's a bunch of baloney, that stuff coming out. And I just don't like seeing people spread that. And here's the other side of that I will share. So like I said, I've been to the combine many times. It's a great experience, great time. The access is unbelievable because the way it's set up in Indianapolis I think Indy is one of the most underrated cities because it's a big, metropolitan downtown area, but it has a really small feel. Like everything that you need to go to, the convention center, the Lucas Oil Stadium, all the bars and restaurants are all walkable. So all the scouts, GM, coaches, agents, media are all together for the entire week. Lunch, breakfast, at the hotel lobbies, obviously at the stadium, at the convention center, dinners, drinks after. Everyone's together, all hanging out, which makes it so fun, so interesting. But what happens now in those situations, and I saw this firsthand, so I'm not making this up, is you're all hanging out, get some drinks after. I've talked about the Slippery Noodle before. That's a real place. It's the oldest bar in Indianapolis. Great bar, Slippery Noodle. Or you're at, any of the great steakhouses, St. Elmo's, which is fantastic. Best shrimp cocktail I've ever had. The cocktails get flowing. These scouts, coaches, GMs, there's no more people. They start gossiping. Stuff just starts coming off the handle. Me and my buddy were literally at the Slippery Noodle talking to a coordinator one night. And he was giving us all this tea going on. And this is not some South region scout. This was a coordinator dropping the tea leaves all over. Now, we didn't obviously say anything because, one, it's off the record. Like, you shouldn't be sharing that. And two, we don't cover Arizona, so it didn't really matter. It's more just like, whoa, why is this guy we don't know this guy at all. We were at the bar also with, and this wasn't who was doing this, but we were with Kevin Stefanski, at the time, Browns coach, Mark Brunell, Detroit Lions quarterback coach. Go down the list. Everyone's hanging out. And so I bring that up because a lot of rumors get started or get talked about in the eyes of, hey, this is off the record. We're breaking bread, having cocktails. And then someone looking to get some clicks, looking to make a name for themselves, goes out and tweets it, and it goes like wildfire. So, do I believe Makai Lemon had a bad interview? I don't. I don't think he bombed it. Do I think he was a Pulitzer Prize winning interviewer? Probably not. Probably wasn't like fantastic. But I don't think it constitutes what it was, the narrative going on right now in social media. I just think it's ridiculous. So to me, this still will be the number one receiver taken, in my opinion. And if it's not, I don't think it's because of interviews. I think it will be a team says, that 5'11", 192. I think he dispelled that and proved that by what he did at USC. But if it is because if he does fall, I think he will be a first-round pick. But if Carnell Tate goes first or the kid at Arizona State or Washington ends up going ahead of him, I just think that will be why. I think that's a huge mistake. But yeah, so I get a little fired up when I see stuff like that because it's just, I think Makai Lemon is such a good dude. He's just all about ball, zero off the field issues. Like here's another little tidbit, and I won't share actual numbers, but it's just to kind of show you kind of who he is. Because again, you're seeing this like blasphemous stuff, this slanderous stuff coming out. And so his sophomore year, remember, that's when you had the four receivers at USC. You had Zachariah Branch, Deuce Robinson, Makai Lemon, Jacoby Lame, their sophomore year. I heard from someone some NIL numbers. I won't share the exact numbers, but I think we all know Zachariah Branch was making over 7 figures, right? I think his NIL was over $1 million. The number that Makai Lemon was getting that year was laughable. Again, I won't say the number. I'll just say it wasn't even 6 figures. Okay? So, him and Zachariah Branch, same class. Technically, Zach Branch was, I guess a 5-star hire, but it wasn't like Makai Lemon was some, like, walk-on. He was like the 4th-ranked receiver. The discrepancy in NIL was cavernous, Grand Canyon-esque. Not only did he not threaten to go into the portal. This is, again, based on what I heard. I didn't actually talk to him, so I'll just say this is based on some sources. Not only did he not go hey, we need to up this or I'm hitting the portal. He didn't even go and ask for more NIL. I think he knew that it was going to happen anyway. And obviously the exit interviews, and we all know how that happened, where Zachariah Branch and Deuce Robinson ended up hitting the portal. So I'm sure there was conversations from Lincoln Riley and company hey, you and Jacoby Lane are going to be the face of USC. Obviously, that'll get a bump in NIL. So I'm sure that came up, but he did not go seek it out. He did not threaten to leave or do anything. So I only share that because that shows what this dude's all about. He's not chasing some check. He A, loved USC, and B, just wanted to win and hone his craft and felt that USC was the place to do that. Here's another little story. And again, this is all third-party hearing. But I heard after the season, there was a real conversation of him considering coming back for another year. Now, obviously, that would have probably, there's too much risk in doing that. And I think he made the absolute right decision. But again, that just shows kind of who he is and what he truly cares about. And he knows what he put into USC as a program, what they built, and how close the program is to really turning the corner. And so he considered really staying to be a part of it. He thought, man, we are so close. Next year's our year to make the playoff. I'd like to stay and be a part of it. So again, just sharing that, just showing this dude's about ball. So any NFL team that gets him is going to get an absolute gamer, a Blitnikoff winner, and one of the best receivers in the draft. if not the best receiver in the draft. So all this chatter is ridiculous. So everyone can just ignore it. I spent probably too much time even talking about it, but just grinds my gears a little bit when you see that. Now we all have jobs to do, but I at least try. I'm not going to put anything out there that's just I don't know anything about. Now again, some of these guys, it's not really their fault if a scout truly is telling them, hey, this is what I'm a scout of this team and this is what our thoughts are. I guess why would you not say that? It's based on the scout. But there's also plenty of scouts that said Caleb Williams, what he did in college would never translate. You been watching the Bears? Did you watch that little 4th down Hail Mary against the Rams? That's what he did at USC. Looks like that translated pretty well to college. Sometimes you gotta just actually watch the tape and see how good a dude is. Talk to Kurt Ferenz at Iowa, right? Called Six one of the best offensive players he's ever coached against in his 150 years of coaching. So, ridiculous. So, we'll see soon enough. April 25th or so is the draft, so a month and a half or so. Should see Makai Lemon go on that Thursday night. Last receiver, USC's technically had 2 first-round receivers since then, Jordan Addison, and then Drake London was the very first receiver taken in his draft, 8th overall. So can Makai Lemon follow suit in that? Okay, quickly, I spent too much time on that, but we'll be quick on this. Jacoby Lane, I thought, had a phenomenal combine. Knocked it out of the park. We all know how talented Jacoby Lane is. We know the ceiling of Jacoby Lane. I remember me and Madman did a show before the season started. We were talking about, hey, where are these guys going to go in the draft? Because we knew this was going to be their last year. And we said before the season, if you want the safe bet, just your guy that's going to be consistent, solid, Makai Lemon's that dude. Now, he proved that and then some during the season. But we said if you're going just pure ceiling, which NFL does a lot of times. We see all the time they take guys that didn't have necessarily college production, but they have that ceiling. That's Jacoby Lane. And he proved that at the combine. He ran a 4.47 which I think was a fantastic time for him. When you talk about his size, that is an unreal 40 time for Jacoby Lane. His gauntlet drill, which Makai Lemon absolutely crushed as well, was fantastic. Jacoby Lane just looking smooth, effortless. We've called it a gazelle. Looks like a gazelle out there, but then is running faster than he looks. So he crushed the gauntlet drill. Makai Lemon did as well. Lemon dropped the very first pass just randomly, and then I've never seen a guy run such a straight line. That's the big thing to look for, right? Is guys aren't fading on the line as they're getting passes. Both him and Jacoby were dead straight, speed, didn't break their stride, looked fantastic. So Jacoby Lane, going into this year, I thought they both could be first-round picks. The way the year went, it was okay, Makai Lemon's a lock. Jacoby Lane, because of the injury, just didn't have as high as production as everyone would have hoped, is probably more of a second round. He may have worked his way into a late first-round pick. He's going to be a fringe first, early day 2 pick. And he had the talent to do that anyway, but this is where the combine helps guys. Those guys that, hey, we know they have a high ceiling, but their production was down a little bit, and then they can go and put those numbers up, and it's okay, yeah, that's what we wanted to see. Jacoby Lane absolutely crushed it, made himself probably a good amount more money. NFL, your paycheck is based on where you get drafted, that rookie paycheck, and the higher you drafted, the more the paycheck is. He probably made himself a good amount of money this past week. Lake McRee, thought had a really nice combine as well. He's a guy, I've said this before, doesn't jump off the page, doesn't have that elite athleticism from the tight end position like a Kenyon Sadiq that's going to be in this year's draft out of Oregon, like a Kyle Pitts, some of these other guys that have come out that are just freak athletes. He's still going to be probably a 5th round pick, but he's just going to be a productive tight end. He blocks well, he catches well, he runs routes well. He's just that tight end that you're he's just a good, solid tight end. And I think he proved that again at the combine this week. And then finally, there were other guys there, but finally, Kamari Ramsey thought had a nice combine. 4.47 for him, I thought was a good time. He was never a guy that had blistering speed or anything like that. So I thought that was a really solid 40 time for him. Had 16 reps on the bench press, just kind of showing mean, he's not a huge dude, 6 foot, but I mean, that shows some good strength from the safety position, certainly. So, again, Kamari Ramsey's going to be that probably 2nd round, 3rd round pick. There's a shot. It's not going to happen, but I'll just put it out there. There's a small sliver chance that 3 Trojans get taken in the 1st round. Lemon, Lane, and Kamari Ramsey. It's not going to happen, but it wouldn't shock me. To me, I see it more Lemon going 1st round. I think Lane will be like the first 5 picks in the 2nd round, and I think Ramsey will be bottom 2nd, early 3rd. It's kind of how I see it going. But I think he had a really solid combine. So that was the combine. Event is over. For USC speaking, spring ball starts on Tuesday. I will be on campus. I cannot wait. Little breath, a month of actual football, being on campus, seeing the dudes in pads, going to talk to players and coaches. So I'll be there the entire spring. Cannot wait to get out there. So make sure to keep it right here plugged in. Hit that like and subscribe for all the coverage on spring. We'll get some videos up of, I know people love watching it, guys walking out and some of the individual drills. So we'll have a video up on that, plus my coverage, plus all the interviews and stuff like that. So make sure to keep it right here, USC LAFB. Appreciate you, family. As always, fight on.
If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening.